Hello, hello. Okay, so tonight we're going to be reviewing Karate Kid. The Karate Kid is a hero's journey, so we're going to really actually review a lot of that plateau of the hero's journey. Now, Zelda and Jennifer have not seen actually, you've seen it once before, and then Zelda, this is your first time seeing the Karate Kid.
Yeah.
Let's get a little feedback on Zelda. What was your feedback on some of the story? What was there anything that surprised you? What was your take on the film?
Well, nothing surprised me, but I liked how it was presented. I mean, I could tell how it was going to end, but I liked seeing the ending that I'd predicted.
It was very satisfying, the conclusion of Daniel coming up. Jennifer, give us a little bit of a synopsis of what the Karate Kid story was.
The story was a kid from New Jersey lives in California, doesn't really like it, finds a girl, wants to get with her, and she has an ex-boyfriend that beats him up. He doesn't like that, so he tries to beat him back up by learning karate. And the guy didn't work because the only karate school in that whole entire town is the exact same one that the bully kid is also going to. So someday, he almost gets beaten up because of a prank he pulled off, and he gets saved by the mystical Mr. Miyagi, who teaches him karate, so he can defend himself. And he will go to a tournament because the sensei of the bully kid's karate place is like, you're all pussy, but not like that. It's something like that. And they're like, Mr. Miyagi is like, oh yeah? Tournament. And then they do their thing, train, wax on. Wax on. Do the tournament. Our kid hero wins, and that's it.
There we go. Now, let's talk about a little bit of the hero's journey. So, when we find Daniel, basically he is pretty much in the day-to-day world of a young teenager being forced to move from New Jersey to Reseda, yeah. And we basically find Daniel at the status quo point of his adventure. He's going about his day-to-day life, with the annoyance of having to move to a new location, kind of be the outside kid, into his California adventure. What was it that was Daniel's call to adventure? What was the event that was Daniel's call to adventure?
Hey, you should totally go to the beach with us and meet Allie.
Yeah. He met a new friend at the apartment complex, and it was interesting.
Yeah, we never see him again.
Yeah. Freddie just died somewhere in the ocean. But it's interesting how they set that up nicely, where Daniel, was just by goofing around, kicking the fence, impressed Freddie enough that Freddie, Freddie's like, oh, Daniel must be a karate expert if he knocked me on my face with this. But from the viewer's point of view, we understand Daniel's not, he's just goofing off. He's Freddie's expectations of Daniel's are higher, of Daniel is higher than what Daniel actually can deliver. So initially, the story is already setting Daniel up for failure when he does, fail on the beach with Johnny coming to Allie with an eye.
Yeah, Allie with an eye.
That's right.
And then Johnny comes by on his motorcycles with his rock music.
Absolutely. That's how we knew he was a bad guy, because the rock music were there, and he's on dangerous motorcycles. And also
those dangerous electric keyboards.
That's right. Those keyboards definitely let us know. But also, the bad guys were introduced coming from right to left in the screen entrance, and a lot of times we try to introduce the bad guy going from right to left when we first meet him. And so Daniel first kind of gets an eye contact with Allie, right?
Yeah.
Now, did that feel like a nice, cute relationship? Would you buy that relationship as being a relationship?
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought it felt. It felt like a high school relationship. Just kind of the goofy boy meets girl. They make the goofy sounds goofy eye
contact.
Yeah, hey, they go straight to the.
Hey Daniel, that girl's making some eye contact at you. Want to go to the urinal?
Yeah. Oh God. Yeah. No, this is the '80s.
YOLO.
Yeah,
this is the '80s.
All right. So Daniel, basically Daniel's call to adventure was when the girl that he's interested in is actually interests Daniel into the problem, which is the bully of Johnny, which Johnny tends to beat Daniel up in their first introduction, because Johnny's is Allie's ex-girlfriend. Right?
Yeah, he's such a girlfriend.
Yeah. Oh, girl. Oh, sorry, boyfriend. Sorry. All right, words are not becoming me. Okay, so as we move forward, obviously Daniel gets bullied by Johnny's crew, and in the first act we're introduced to Mr. Miyagi, and that's a great misdirect. Of Mr. Miyagi. How did they misdirect Mr. Miyagi's character?
They show him like a crazy old Asian man.
Nice.
And he's the repairman. He fixes sinks.
Yep. And he did unfortunately the prettiest cliche broken English fob kind of broken English. That's offensive, but it was a good.
It was the times. It was the 80s.
It was a good misdirect because
YOLO.
yeah. Oh God. We love everyone here, okay? But it was a good misdirect because we need our wise sensei to not look like a wise sensei as soon as we meet him, or it's going to be letting the audience know too much. I mean, obviously we know this because we're film students, but hopefully the audience didn't look at the handyman and say, "Aha! He must be who's going to teach Daniel."
Because, I mean, everybody looks at an apartment handyman, you're just like, oh god, I'm going to be calling this guy 60 jillion times just to fix a sink.
Oh, yeah.
If you've ever lived in an apartment, you know what this is. They never come right away, and they never do a good job.
Correct, yes. But now I look at all those handyman with a different look now. I expect them to know 8th degree martial arts, and so I test them. I attack them when they come in my door, and most of them have failed horribly. So
A solid move.
Yeah.
Have you been arrested for that yet?
Well, I've served a little time. Okay, so that leads us to our introduction of the assistant. So, who was Daniel's assistant, and Zelda? How did they introduce Daniel's assistant into his life?
Well, it would have been Mr. Miyagi.
Mm-hmm.
Daniel tried to get him to fix the fence, but the part where he was introduced as the assistant, like the person who could genuinely help him, I think is when he fixed his bike.
Yeah. And how about that great scene where Daniel and his mother are arguing literally in front of Mr. Miyagi's
and you don't see him until he opens the door and pops his head out after they left.
Yep. And obviously his prop in his hand he was doing some kind of spatula or something like that, because it would look a little creepy if he came out and he wasn't. What are you doing this late at night hanging out in your workshop? I guess. But
for all we knew, he lived there up until that.
Yeah, that's true. That's absolutely true. We could have assumed that as well about him. But it was interesting because when we first get introduced to Mr. Miyagi, he's actually not very friendly at all to Daniel, is he? He's kind of just blowing him off. When Daniel comes and says, "Help fix my sink," which is a great misdirect. And your own. And what's nice about the Karate Kids, truth be told, is you can actually use this as a template in sci-fi and adventure and comedy and fantasy and anything. Obviously improve it, but you can. It's a good foundation on whatever story you're trying to tell. So we get introduced to the wise teacher of Mr. Miyagi. How does Miss Miyagi and Daniel depart from the ordinary world into the special world, which is, I guess, would be the world of martial arts?
That would be the part where Miyagi pulls into his house and Daniel starts learning how to wax on and wax off.
I think it's earlier than that.
I thought a little bit
Probably
earlier.
after he gets beaten up and Miyagi shows him that, I know karate and I can do this thing. So that's kind of like
right,
the
yeah,
gate.
that happened.
Yeah,
the prank and the car crash.
Yeah, I would say that was like the gate to leading to
the new world. When Mr. Miyagi goes with Daniel to the dojo, to Johnny's dojo, the Cobra Khan dojo, I think that's actually where the real transition happens from Daniel going from his ordinary world into the world of martial arts, because now he has the confidence of his assistant, Mr. Miyagi, to walk him into the world of martial arts, because Mr. Miyagi proved earlier on, by defending Daniel 5 against 1, that he's pretty confident in his ability, in martial arts. So we get to Mr. Miyagi's great house, and let's talk about that great shot when we're driving over the railroad tracks with Mr. Miyagi and Daniel in the car, and then we have this so we're following the car coming towards camera, and then we have this great crane shot that looks like a very industrial part of the neighborhood, right, with the railroad tracks and everything like that. And then the crane shot pulls back and reveals Mr. Miyagi's paradise, which at first we're thinking Mr. Miyagi, he's a maintenance guy, but obviously he's pretty smart with his money, because he had probably about 4 or 5 acres over in L.A. And that, probably,
And it's not even like crappy acres. He
I know.
takes good care of
I know.
the place.
So we definitely get that great departure really
Daniel takes good care of the
into
place.
Daniel. Yeah. We find out that Daniel is really taking
And you
care
wonder
of
how many kids is he
I
taking there?
know. There's little signs, "Help me!" And then he's taken to the place. Correct. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about Mr. Miyagi's training of Daniel. Did anyone when you first saw the film of Mr. Miyagi's montage of training Daniel, did you know how those? Well, actually, let's talk about what did Mr. Miyagi make Daniel do?
Wax the car, sand the deck, paint the fence up and down,
Yep.
and paint the house side to side.
Yep. Now, did you guys have a inclination that those were martial arts moves?
Well, yeah, but it was a very famous scene, and I'd known
Oh,
about it for
yeah, that's
my
true.
entire life.
Well, besides that, besides the internet.
Yeah. No, I have to say, the internet spoiled me.
Oh, you bunch
Also,
of.
references from my friends.
I mean, I'm pretty sure pre-internet I was spoiled by this. Because it was that famous.
Fair enough. But okay, so because didn't have the internet when I saw this for the first time, obviously it was a surprise the way that the writer and the storytelling used something of everyday life to train our up and coming hero on the lessons that he needs to learn. And I think that's great as storytellers. Like an example of Walt Disney, our short thing that we're working on with No Shoes. I would like to incorporate the dentist teaching Walt Disney some of the fundamentals about business, so that later on in his journey he learns how to be a successful businessman. Because, but I'd like to have it done interesting where it pays off in the third act. The first act, like why the hell is this dentist taking the time to teach him this stuff, and then later on it obviously pays off. But by setting the
Clearly, the dentist is impressed by something.
Yeah. And usually, a lot of people back in the day were impressed with Walt's charisma and energy and tenacity. I mean, his earlier years, he got his rent paid for by doing oddball art and oddball stuff. And so I'll be honest, I can't convince my landlord to cut down on the rent because
I've never even met my landlord.
Yeah. So
half the time they don't even live in the same state as you.
well, this one does, so it's fine. But so the point is when Daniel gets to Mr. Miyagi's training camp, the trials that he is that are in front of him is that first off he has to learn to trust Mr. Miyagi's way of training him, and unfortunately Daniel's pretty thick-headed, which is good for us as a viewer, because it wasn't until Mr. Miyagi just spells it out for Daniel. This is why you're waxing the fence, or painting the fence, waxing my cars, and sanding my deck, is because it's getting your muscle memory to defend yourself.
Of course, he never actually says it. He acts it out
absolutely,
instead.
absolutely.
So
Yeah.
not bored.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Tell us about the scene when Mr. Miyagi, when Daniel gets frustrated, and tell us about the scene when Daniel is frustrated.
He kicks paint.
Yeah.
Yeah, he just like you can see him building up as he's waxing the cars. He's like, "I'm done." The time he gets to the fence, he's like, "Hey, Mr. Miyagi, I'm done." And Miyagi's just, "Well, what about the rest of the fence?"
Yeah,
and then he gets back and he's like, Mr. Miyagi, because he's pronouncing it wrong. "I'm done." And he's like, "Well, you didn't paint the back of the fence."
Yeah.
So by the end of the day, he finds the note, and the note's like, "Oh, I've gone fishing. Just paint the house, go horizontally. Left hand once, right hand once."
Yep.
He just flips out. He kicks the can of paint and just starts swearing.
Oh yeah.
That dude's pissed.
Yep. And then Miss Miyagi.
He does it anyway.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, because there obviously was a little bit of pretty good foundation of trust with Daniel and Miss Miyagi, But when Miss Miyagi was serious, he got, instead of being soft with Daniel, he's like, Danielson, stop, come here, And so Daniel's like, oh crap, what did I do, And so it was at that moment that Mr. Miyagi brought Danielson to attention and said, listen, these are the lessons that I'm teaching you, and literally, walked him through the wax the car, the paint the fence, and then
No, stand up.
Yeah, exactly. That's a great little joking, adding a little bit of humor to a very dramatic moment, and so it was a good choice on the writing, because if Daniel just instantly was ready to go into the karate moves, we wouldn't be able to appreciate the clumsiness of Daniel learning. By having him do kind of a clumsy, I better get down and wax the fence and all that stuff, it gave us even more empathy or I guess comedy for Daniel because.
And if you live under a rock and you haven't seen it yet, it gives you time to figure out, okay, what's he doing?
Yeah.
Oh, wait. So if you can figure it out before Daniel, it gives you the endorphin boost. Like, hey, I was right. I guessed this right.
Yep,
Which is another great thing about having a predictable story, but predictable in a way that is enjoyable to watch, is because you get that little rush of being right about the end.
That little thing where you say to the audience, here are a couple of clues right here, can you guess what I'm doing?
Yep.
And if the audience guessed it right, then they, you instantly feel
I
good
feel
about that.
smart, SMRT.
Absolutely. Yeah. All right, so we get to the point where Daniel finally learns to trust Mr. Miyagi. And we have this great scene where Mr. Miyagi, Daniel comes. Okay, so Daniel starts continuing with his his love interest in Annie and Allie. Sorry. And
with an eye.
That's right. And unfortunately, there's a miscommunication where Daniel sees Allie being forced to kiss her ex-boyfriend, and Daniel trips and the white outfit that he had on was deliberate because it showed the spaghetti sauce on him. More and and so it was a deliberate choice. And Daniel runs to Mr. Miyagi, and unfortunately, at that time, this is the scene where Mr. Miyagi is drunk, and Daniel is actually seeing more of the human side of Mr. Miyagi instead of just the side that Mr. Miyagi wants the world to see it. And what does Daniel find out at the scene where Mr. Miyagi is drunk? Jennifer?
He found out that he had a wife. And she died during childbirth, which that's a big deal for Mr. Miyagi because she was his wife, and also during the time it was set, it was during I believe the Japanese how do they pronounce it?
World War II?
No, not World War II.
It was a Korean. Was it the Korean conflict? Maybe it was the Korean conflict.
It's the
Oh no, it was World War II.
Yeah,
It was the 40s, 1940 something.
Yeah. Where they rounded up all Japanese. Like,
yes, Japanese internment was World War II.
Yeah.
Yeah, that.
Thank you, George Takei.
Yeah. Now, the studio execs initially wanted to cut that scene, but what were some of the feelings that you felt in that scene when you first watched that scene?
Well, you get sympathy for Mr. Miyagi and what he has gone through, and all the shenanigans that he made Daniel go through wasn't for naught.
Yeah.
Because he's not just a wise old man standing on top of a mountaintop going do 100 snake punches or something like that. No, he's human.
Yeah. What did you feel in that scene when they revealed about Miyagi's past?
Well, it made Daniel look more like a surrogate son to him than anything because he's seeing this, and then you foreshadowed the gi because the patch from the gi was inside his box of stuff.
Yeah, and so I think it was wise to have the director keep that scene in the director and writer. I think Fox keep that scene in there because it humanized Mr. Miyagi so much more. So and it also gave depth to that relationships of Daniel and Mr. Miyagi because Daniel understood where Mr. Miyagi was coming from. That's why even when Daniel got into the car, or when he noticed the patch on the back of his G. Thank you, G.
You're the one who took martial arts.
I know, but I can't remember the terminology right now. It made that when Daniel said, "I understand if you want this patch back," it made it feel so much more meaningful because us as an audience we viewed this intimate moment of the master and the teacher having an intimate moment. And I think in any story that we tell, that's if you don't want your characters to be cardboard, there needs to be a nice moment of that, within whatever we're doing. And then also even with the car, when Miyagi gave Daniel the car, and Miyagi said, "I know that you understand," and it was legitimate. We knew that Miyagi and them they had such a bond there that would hopefully present years down the road. Actually, with karate 4, 5, 6, whatever they go. Okay, so we get on to the tournament. Okay, and we get to the major tournament. What were some of the obstacles that they put in the tournament to make it stuff for Daniel to overcome?
Well, he doesn't know the rules of the tournament.
Yep. And how about
Miyagi doesn't even know the rule of the tournament.
yeah, that was and I was I out when they did the joke about Miyagi having to steal a belt? Or was that
Yeah, it was in there.
Yeah, okay, because I must have looked away for a moment, but that was a great little comedic moment where Daniel didn't even have a belt to.
Where'd you get yours from?
Yeah.
Who does?
Yeah, exactly. That was a good
J.C.
one.
Penney, $3.95.
Exactly. You know the wisdom of Mr. Miyagi. Okay, so Daniel is in the tournament. He has to overcome not knowing the rules, not knowing you know exactly the do's and don'ts, having to get a belt, you know, and so. Then we get to Daniel becoming in the final belt. You know, now what was the last few obstacles Daniel had to overcome before he got the treasure?
Well, he got kicked in the knee really hard by that
Yeah.
dude whose coach was trying
Yeah.
to get him to cheat to just knock Daniel out,
Oh, yeah.
so Johnny would win.
Oh yeah, how did we like the bad guy in Karate Kid?
Like the
He
bad
was
guy?
a jerk.
Yeah, no,
really
I
liked
know,
hating
I know, no, exactly, and sometimes good bad guys are fun because you know he's an a-hole and they're good at being a-holes. You're like, I you know.
Allie's parents liked him too, and that made it so
Yeah,
much worse.
yeah.
Don't they see what a jerk this dude is?
Yeah, little Johnny. Yeah, that's true.
He's practically raping your daughter with his face, and you're just standing
And
there.
they're all encouraging. Oh, that's great. Glad Johnny.
They make such a cute couple.
Yeah. And also, let's. Why am I drawing a blank? Johnny's trainer. I'm forgetting his name right now.
I don't think he had.
He
had
was
a name, but I can't remember.
Guy who
the
kind
Cobra
of looked like Schwarzenegger.
Yeah, the Cobra Khan guy.
Sensei Cobra Kai.
Yeah. Well,
Let's just call him.
forgive me, I can't remember the name.
Sergeant Sensei.
Yeah. How did they build him up to be such a hard ass and you know just a good bad guy for the softness of Mr. Miyagi?
You first hear him in his dojo screaming.
Oh yeah.
They were saying like a mantra by
Yeah, I know.
Fear, no mercy.
Oh, yeah.
This is dojo has fear.
There is no pain.
Oh yeah, and we set him up. Everything that's wrong with martial arts, we set him up. You know, the aggression, the no mercy, the
How
no pain.
not to teach karate.
Pretty much, exactly. And then that's really told to us at the tournament where he's telling his students to cheat just to win the battle and stuff
Not
like
only
that.
that, it's even further forward. Like earlier in the story when you see him in the dojo and when they had the sparring to go off. When one of the students got knocked over, instead of being respectful and waiting for the opponent to get up so you continue to fight, he's like, finish him! And then he went, yo! Elbow punch him right in the back.
Just crush his skull. Make sure he never shows his ugly mug here
And
in
also
this
even earlier,
dojo.
when they're doing the practice rounds of punching, he knocks one of his students over and be like, yeah! If you're on the street, you were dead! Never
He makes him go do knuckle push-ups in the corner. Oh, no. I love this. I love the abuse.
Best karate academy ever.
I love being tortured.
Masochism dojo.
Evidently, that was his way of torturing. So it's all good. So we had the dojo teacher encouraging the students to cheat and encouraging the students to do anything to win. And then obviously Daniel gets a knee injury. It first takes him out, but then at the last one, it really took him out of the whole tournament. He got up to, I guess, second place. Now that was basically the dark night of Daniel's soul right there. Why do you think that Mr. Miyagi gave in and used his voodoo magic to
Asian magic.
It kind of vaguely worked a little. Daniel was totally still limping on the way in. I'm surprised there was a sequel. After that, he probably wouldn't be able to walk.
No, the sequel's actually pretty good. Well, it's good. The sequel's a little bit more mushy, but the first act of the sequel is
The sequel
fun.
had Peter Cetera.
Okay.
The Peter Cetera song that I have heard many times.
Oh gosh, yeah, okay. So actually, in the Dark Night of the Soul, when Daniel was laying on the cot, why did Mr. Miyagi agree to help him on the cot?
Daniel said he would be at unrest because he says even though this is good enough for Ali, this is good enough for Mr. Miyagi, it's even good enough for the paramedic guy who treated him, saying, "Wow, you did pretty damn good out there." Daniel was like, "No, this isn't as good as I wanted to because even after this fight, I'm still gonna get harassed by the guys because I came so close, but not close enough to prove my point." Miyagi said, "No, you proved your point. You should be good by now." Daniel was like, "No, I need to go all the way through.
The term was balance.
Balance.
Because when Daniel confessed that he was going to be unbalanced for the rest of his life, Miyagi understood that because Daniel would have probably the what ifs for the rest of his life, and so evidently Miyagi had a what if in his life, and he's like, okay, I get it. You need to finish what you came here to do, and so that's what gave Miyagi the insight to say, all right, I'll do what I can to fix your knee, and so Daniel's the universal lesson that Daniel learned is obviously to manipulate an old man to get balance. No, about completing something for balance. Completing your goal to accept balance. And I think what Mr. Miyagi learned to do is using stuff that he didn't finish. Maybe he didn't finish to get balance in his own life, or using his skills to help other people find balance in their life.
Not to mention he had Sergeant Sensei over there with his butt chin farting all over the integrity of karate.
Correct. He's like, that guy stinks. Okay, so Daniel goes into the last bout, and the move that he used was called
The crane kick.
Okay, and they foreshadowed that in Act 2. How did they foreshadow the crane
With
kick?
Mr. Miyagi doing the crane kick.
Correct. And
very striking silhouette there.
Yeah, no, the composition of that was really nice.
Gorgeous.
Yeah, exactly. Where you couldn't miss what he was doing. Yeah.
And you don't forget that shot either.
Oh yeah.
That's like a postcard.
Yep, absolutely. And also the great lighting that they used in Mr. Miyagi's time when he was drunk, where they literally had Daniel lit, by the table, and then when Mr. Miyagi came up and was talking about his service in the war, where he stepped was lit, and then when he went back to the bedroom and was talking about when he lost his wife, that area was lit. So he was obviously blocked and hit his marks perfectly, as the DP and all the light worked great in that scene.
Not only that, the lights also has a bit of foreshadowing, as you said. When he steps back, his face gets underlit.
Yeah.
Usually underlit is, a foreboding thing, but when as he goes back and further into his bed, he's like mostly in shadows, with just barely a light outline.
And also, if you see the shot where with his wife, when they're talking about his wife, there's a shot of a reverse shot of Daniel, and the bottle actually cuts his wife's picture in half, and so that's even before we know that she's dead and stuff like that. So there's a little bit of psychological foreshadowing in that if you overread
that.
it.
And in Japanese culture, they usually keep pictures of dead people and then drink with them like they're alive.
Oh, no, that's interesting. I should have considered that. Okay.
So just if you know anything about Japanese culture and you see somebody with a picture of somebody staring longingly at it and it's kind of just put up on the table, obviously in display, chances are pretty good it's going to be a dead person.
Yep. You can see when you go right into my house above the TV, there's Grandpapa
watching
you watch TV, judging you.
Judging
you for your cartoon.
Why are you watching so much TV? Okay, so Daniel, he gets to do the crane kick. It's foreshadowed in Act 2. And it's successful because in Act 2 we're told nothing can defend against this crane kick. So that's also a good lesson when you're setting up your hero's journey and you're having your hero do a special move. That's
Chekhov's special move.
Is that Chekhov?
Yeah, Chekhov's gun is if you're going to have a gun somewhere in Act 1, you've got to use that gun before the play's done.
Absolutely. So make sure you set that up prior, in Act 1 or 2, so that when we get to Act 3 and whatever weapon you want to use, the audience is like, aha, they finally get to use that gun or that kick or whatever. So make sure that you set that up. Okay.
Set up your Chekhov's kick. Got it.
So we go back. Daniel wins the respect and honor after beating up Johnny, and then Daniel basically. I mean, we actually cut it on. They cut it on a high note. Daniel's on top of the crowd, and we zoom into Mr. Miyagi as I guess we return to the ordinary world, and Daniel rides off. Daniel actually rides off as a hero on this. We don't really turn into.
We can only assume his school life gets a lot less pain-filled.
Sure. But this is definitely the hero's journey, but there's so many things that we can learn to use in our own films on how to make them better and improve them, But like I was saying before, just because we're learning the tricks of the magician doesn't necessarily mean the trick doesn't work. The trick now is to do the same trick, but do it without letting the audience see you doing the same trick. You have to do it your own style, your own way of doing the trick of the hero's journey, but it still works today on many things that we're talking about. Why am I drawing a blank on Katniss?
Hunger Games.
Hunger Games, or Lord of the Rings, or Harry Potter, et cetera, et cetera. So, a lot of the same foundations, just told in a different way, Anything else you guys want to add to this?
Somebody get a body bag.
Yeah, exactly. Get a body bag. That's right. But do you see why this is a story that can be used, and it's a good film.
Like, basic does not have to mean boring.
Yeah.
You could do a very basic story, but if it's done really well, it works.
Absolutely. And Jennifer, you're working on a hero's journey story right now, right?
Yes, I am.
And we just got through with Act 3, right?
Yes, we did.
Very cool. So hopefully we'll do a live pitch of that coming up, where Jennifer will be practicing her pitching and storyboard skills. It'll be great. It'll be
Looking
wonderful.
forward to that.
Yeah, that's right. Because she loves crowds and she loves being in front of the camera.
If you need to outsource attention, I'm your guy.
That's right. We'll have Jennifer
No.
pitch it, and then we'll have Zelda pitch it. We'll see.
It's
how
like
the
that.
energy
And you
goes.
can just move your mouth and I'll dub.
Nice. All right, so I guess I'm going to just say my name and sign off, and we'll ask you guys to do the same. So this is Rick, and thanks for listening.
This is Jen.
And this is Zelda. Make sure to wax on and wax off every day.
Oh, my God.